Well, Tingley is not just for fishing, although that seems to be the main draw in the winter time because anglers don't want to go all the way up into the snowy mountains. It's nice to be able to come in town and fish in the winter. And in the summertime, we have a lot of families that come and walk around on the newly paved sidewalks that wrap around all the fishing ponds. That's our goal, is just to provide a fun-free, safe facility for families to enjoy themselves outside. And if you get bored at Tingley, I don't know how that could possibly happen, but if you do, you could always go for a walk out in the bosque, and there's beautiful trails out there and 3 wetlands which accept the effluent, or the water that leaves Tingley, goes into these constructed wetland systems in the bosque. And there it's very peaceful and quiet. You can't hear the road. You're right next to the river. There's very few people out there, so you can bird watch or just look at pond life, which is interesting, all the ducks and the frogs and the birds that utilize that area. So that's a beautiful place to walk. And in the wintertime is my favorite time to walk in the bosque, which most people don't consider. They think, oh, I don't want to go for a walk in the cold, it's too cold out there. But in the wintertime, when all the leaves have fallen off the trees, you can see our local native porcupines, which we've documented anywhere between 5 and 7 porcupines that live in the bosque between the biopark and the river. And if you look up in the trees and you see some big nest-looking thing that has a nose, it's a porcupine. Every year, every time I see one, it's always a thrill. It's like seeing a bald eagle, which we have one bald eagle that cruises somewhere from the east. It cruises right over Tingley and then cuts over into the bosque and flies up north of Tingley. And every time I see a bald eagle, it thrills me. We have a couple ospreys too that spend a lot of time here in October through December, and they fly around and then swoop down on the lakes and steal fish and fly off with them. So it's like a National Geographic moment right here in the middle of Albuquerque. The city of Albuquerque and the Army Corps of Engineers got together and decided to revamp the entire area. And part of that was because of the hydrology. What was a 20-foot lake had filled in with sediment over time, just from erosion, and they couldn't control the water levels because there was a direct interaction with the water table. So during drought years or times of low water, the lake level would drop. And also the hydrology of Tingley, instead of this lake feeding the groundwater to get to the river, it was actually feeding the ditches. And really what we want, the ideal is for the groundwater table to recharge our river. So the Army Corps of Engineers and the city of Albuquerque both chimed in millions of dollars to completely restore the facility. So they came up with a plan with the 3 fishing holes in the model boat ponds. They excavated the entire area, put down a liner so that we could control the hydrology of the facility. We could keep the lakes high for fish and maintain it as a really fantastic fishing facility. We fixed up the wells, so on both sides of Tingley there are waterfalls. At the children's pond and at the south pond there are waterfalls, and those waterfalls are that's well water coming in a beautiful artistic way, and those feed the outside ponds, and those 2 outside fishing ponds are 3 feet higher than the central pond. So there's a little transition stream between each of those that feed the central pond, and then if you keep adding water, the water has to go somewhere, otherwise it's going to flood. So we run it's a gravity-fed pipe that goes out to the wetlands in the bosque, and the first one is 8 feet deep, and the substrate of that is not very permeable, so it lets different nutrients, because fish are going to let go of a lot of nutrients, settle out in the pond. And there's also plants in there, so there's biological uptakes. The plants in that wetland system are taking up the extra nutrients. And then from there's a stream that goes to a second wetland system, which is 4 feet deep. And that wetland, the substrate is permeable, so the water coming from Tingley is going from surface water into the groundwater, so it's recharging the water table, and that will go back into the river. Also, again, lots of plants, and then from there it goes into a wet marsh. So if you see an area with 8-foot tall cattails, that's an area that's flooded and promotes a really wonderful habitat for the bosque wildlife. You know, the porcupines and the waterfowl, some of the waterfowl are intimidated and get spooked by all the anglers fishing at Tingley, or all the visitors, or kids throwing bread at them. You know, they get scared. And so the wetlands is a place where it's nice and quiet and peaceful, no fishing line, no anglers, no human pressure, where they can just go sit and relax and live in that niche that they need to survive. We really hope you'll come enjoy Tingley. It's a gift from the city to you. We work really hard to make it a fun, free, safe facility for you and your family to enjoy, and nothing would make us happier than if you came out here and used it.